The day that the person that should have been president had to deliver her concession speech, I honestly didn't know how I was going to get out of bed. When I tell y'all, I'm getting emotional, that I traveled this country because I knew it was going to be bad. I didn't know it was going to be this fucking bad shit, but I knew. And I knew that the obstacles were going to be even greater because not only was it a woman, but it was a woman of color. But man, if you because we in these hot ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey. So yeah.
Be leaders ourselves.
Black women are being used by the Democrat Party.
All of these socioeconomic indicators are in the negative, particularly for black people.
They want mob rule. When Trump was in office, please somebody tell me what act of dictatorship did he perform?
She had Donald Trump's hair on top of her head. And she's sitting here talking about brown girl this, brown girl that.
Because she's a black woman.
They would ask her how to spell her first name and clap like sea monkeys.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
What's up, everybody? It's Wednesday, and it's time for Poppin' Politics. I'm KJ. Let me introduce you to my co-hosts. Of course, we have Nicole and Shelly E.
Hi.
All right, before we dive in, do me a favor, tap that thumbs up and subscribe right now, but definitely hit that like button. It helps to amplify our voice here on YouTube. Of course, we're on YouTube and Rumble. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify under the name Pop and Politics. We love our chat, so we shout out all of our super chats, and it's the best way to get your voice heard and to show your love for conservative content. This is not just a podcast. This is a movement of God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that value freedom. Stand with us and subscribe so we can amplify this rallying call for freedom. All right, ladies, let's set it off. A lot to get to tonight. Of course, we are going to start out with Texas Representative Jasmine Crockett. Boy, did she have a weekend to remember or one to regret. From mocking a disabled governor to losing it on the House floor, what happened to professionalism? So you saw that clip of her at the top of the show. What did you think about that, Nicole?
You know, three things. One, she was ill prepared to give that speech. So this is what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when you don't write your own speeches and you look down at the talking points and they don't make any sense to you. So she started to kind of wing it and she got a little bit comfortable. Unfortunately, taking a swipe at Greg Abbott is really politically dumb. Two, I don't know why ratchet is her go-to position, right? When things go wrong, I don't know why she just doesn't fall back on that law school or fall back on all those private schools or the multi-million-dollar home behind the gate. Why does she fall in the ratchet so easily? Do you think it's just a clown show? You think it's just performative?
What do you think?
Two things to what Nicole said. I think that it's not so much that she wasn't prepared. I don't think she even knew what to say, period. Right? I mean, she could read a script or read something that was written for her, but she just didn't know what to say, number one. Number two, I don't even know why she was given that award, right? So that's all kind of, curious to me.
Murky.
Yes, but she falls back on ratchet because I think that's what she is. I know we've been saying, some of us, more or less on social media, that she's performing. No, I think this is who she is. I do. I think you can take the person out of the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out of the person in many cases.
That point.
I think this was just. I'm sick of Jasmine Crockett. As much as we have to talk about her, I'm sick of it. She's. I'm not going to say she's ignorant because she's well educated in that sense, but she's just ghetto. And it's embarrassing. I'm going to keep using that word. It's embarrassing. She stood there dressed up, cute little dress, and she just has no couth, as they used to say in the old
professional.
Yes. Cringy,
and
all of that. And one of the things I think that people are missing when you look at the comments on the Republican side, on the Democrat side, the things that they're saying about her, typical, the usual suspects, like her art, if it's art, or who she really is, that ratchet position that she goes back to, is setting professional Black women back decades.
Yeah,
it is. Decades. Do you know? Now, I've known you both for years. Not one of us would ever. And if something happened
in a public forum,
listen, if I was having a whole meltdown, if my mind was breaking, somebody would come and snatch that microphone and be like, well, Nicole Bennett will be right back. Wait a minute. None of her friends are helping. They're all just allowing this to happen to her.
Sorry. This was, it's a little digression, but it's funny. I remember one time you said somebody would come and snatch the microphone. This is funny. KJ will remember this, right? So one time KJ was introducing me. I was filling in for Giovanni for something, and KJ introduced me the wrong way, and I almost ripped her head off on the stage. I was like, I didn't tell you to say that. But when you said that, it made me think of that,
It happens all of the time. Like sometimes when you do a lot of public speaking, sometimes you do look down at your notes and you're like, what in the world? Where am I? What am I saying? But there's always somebody like your friend or whoever invited you who kind of gives you the lay of the land. And I'm wondering why that didn't happen to her.
They want this. They want this. This is the Democrat.
That's why they picked her.
Yeah. They want her to be the new, as you said, Shelley, minstrel show.
I don't think anyone wrote that script for her. I think those are her actual words.
Well, no. What she said wasn't on the page.
Right.
No,
okay.
Yeah.
She was adjusting the wig and she was uncomfortable.
I thought maybe she was drunk. I literally thought
it looked like
they had a couple of drinks,
some type of gala, and I'm sure they ate and they may have drank prior to her giving this speech. And I'm thinking she was intoxicated. That is the only thing I can come up with. But again, she has been like this multiple times.
She said this publicly, sober as a judge. Exactly. That she does not trust white women and that Hispanic people have quote unquote slave mentality. Do for somebody whose district looks Hispanic, those are some difficult words.
She's responded. She said, and this is photo 1. She said, by saying she wasn't thinking about the governor's condition, she says, and I quote, I was thinking about the planes, trains, and automobiles he used to transfer migrants into communities led by Black mayors, deliberately stoking tension and fear among the most vulnerable. That's what she tweeted out.
Yeah.
And since then, Republican Governor Abbott, this is who she was talking about, is 67. He's used a wheelchair since 1984 when he was paralyzed after an oak tree fell on him while he was out for a run. This is his response, clip 2.
You had an accident at 26 and you were jogging and you had a very severe injury. And yes, you are in a wheelchair. And I've gotten to know you. You're a personal friend of mine. I take it personally when friends of mine are attacked viciously for no reason. And there's no way in hell that this woman and her ex-post is going to convince me she meant anything other than what we all believe it to be. Your reaction?
Well, Sean, is another day and another disaster by the Democrats. The reality is they have no vision, no policy. They have nothing to sell but hate. And Americans are not buying it. It's one reason why Texas is going to remain red and why Republicans are going to continue to win elections across the country. The fact, Sean, is that Texas is actually in direct contrast to what she was talking about. Texas has ranked number 1 for the most new jobs in America over the past month, number 1 for the most new jobs over the past year, and for several years. Texas ranks number 1 for the most new economic development projects for 13 years in a row. CEOs who run businesses have ranked Texas the best state for doing business for 20 years in a row. And Texas is in the vanguard as it concerns the future of the United States, such as space exploration, such as artificial intelligence, such as semiconductors, as well as power generation. The bottom line is that Republican states like Texas are leading the way, and with comments like this by Democrats, we will just leave them in the dust in future elections.
Wow. So very professional, very dignified. That's how you do a so-called clapback.
Absolutely.
I think Jasmine Crockett's district or her constituents, the question is not so much as like, why is she there? Why did they elect her? And I believe partly to some degree, this was all, I don't know, manufactured in the sense to get her in that office to pretend that she represents whomever, Black people, Black women, which she does not by and large. At least I would say she represents maybe some Democratic Black women. But what she is doing on the whole, because guess what? It's not only the Democratic Black women that has to vote for her, particularly on a national level, if she's going to go further, maybe Texas Senate or even further on a executive level. She is embarrassing. She's embarrassing. Even Ketanji, what's her name? KBJ, Ketanji Brown Jackson. Even she's on the left, right? She has more class, and we don't agree with her on many things.
Michelle Obama.
Right? Yeah.
It's not necessarily what you say; it's the way you deliver it.
Well, she's not saying anything though.
Well, no, she's not saying anything. But I will say this: her staffers who are writing the apologies are doing a great job. Whoever that staffer is needs a raise, needs to get out of that office and work for somebody so they can too have a political future. But the thing that's really, I mean, it's unsettling to me how much you hear, and when you read these comments under the things that she's done, so many people actually think this is what Black professional women act like. Are you serious?
Do you think those people who think that, or whatever the demographics are that follow her, I think they are, I'm going to say, a lower class, a lower culture. You think that they are upper echelons, if you will, of people who think that this is what Black women act.
Of course. Let me tell you something. And I was going to ask this later into this conversation, but for a long time, Black women have been ridiculed as being too loud, too aggressive, ghetto. And many of us have said, like we're trying to say now, that's rap culture, that's video vixens. It's not most Black women. But now we have this woman. She is on a national stage. She's in a professional position. Supposedly, she's a congressperson, congresswoman, and she's acting like this. So what's the response now? What do we say? Because a lot of people are looking at her
and as representative. I would say, I hear what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with that. One of the things I would, add to that or go alongside of that is that look at our culture in general of the politicians that we have elected. Now, in this age, I'm going to say Trump, right? Because he was a media person in the on the TV. We've had Arnold Schwarzenegger. We had the other guy who was a wrestler in Minnesota. I think he was the governor. In this context, we have elevated, if you will, a lot of non-typical politicians to the mainstream level of politics. So I'm saying, so in that sense, she's maybe on the far extreme, representing the rap culture, the vixen, all that. But we have had experiences with these non-politician types being elected to high office.
No, but you just named a bunch of men. We're talking about a woman.
But I get it. But
I don't know what
I'm saying she represents like an entertainment kind of.
She's trashy.
She is trashy. But look at what I'm saying. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying we have some history to say that, okay, well, now politics is not just about being stately or presenting
not for a woman.
I don't know.
See a woman get out.
They may not want to see it, but in this context, there is some history, I would say, some history that would support her being in office to the degree that she's a caricature.
She's embarrassed.
Oh, she is. Absolutely.
She's making a fool of herself. I want to acknowledge our super chatters here. Thank you all so much. All right, let's see here who we have. Kung Fu CJ says, let's do this, ladies. Absolutely. You want a border jumper? Say hello, lovely ladies. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Nancy with the $5 super chat says, love you, ladies. So glad I stumbled upon your channel. Thank you so much. P Cool with the $5 super chat says, Jasmine Ratchet can't say a speech, but she doesn't need a script to lie. Yep, absolutely. You are so right. Thank you guys so much. It's the end of the month, and you guys are what keeps us here with your super chats. It helps us to continue to put out this conservative content. We really appreciate it. So thank you guys so much. And if you want to have something to say, if you want to wear what your message is, we have a merch store here as well. You go to our website, popandpoliticslive.com, and click on shop. Also, if you don't want to, you can also Cash App us, and the Cash App is strolling there on the screen as well. Thank you so much.
All right.
So we're not done, unfortunately, with Jasmine Crockett. So she went off today on the NPR PBS hearing. So executives from public broadcasters, PBS and NPR, testified before the House DOJ subcommittee this morning. The hearing comes as President Trump and his administration have turned up the heat on public media in recent months. The FCC launched an investigation earlier this year into the two outlets over their alleged airing of commercials. Federal law prohibits public broadcasters from selling commercial sponsorships, but the outlets are allowed to broadcast public underwriting spots paid for by donors. Both media organizations have pushed back on the administration's claims. So this is her at this hearing, clip 10.
So much. And isn't it true that without these stations' broadcast, Americans in rural communities would lack access to life-saving information and public safety alerts?
That is correct.
So in your opinion, would eliminating funding for stations in rural America like WNGH, Channel 18, and the Chairwoman's District hurt Americans?
It would hurt Americans, yes.
In fact, Georgia Public Broadcasting serves as the official distributor of evacuation route information during state-ordered evacuations, and the chairwoman is here advocating to strip their funding. Look, the DOJ agenda isn't about government efficiency. It's about breeding corruption at the expense of the safety of the American people, particularly Americans living in rural or remote parts of the country. They don't care about public safety. They don't care about emergency management, and they don't care about free speech, all of which are harming American people. In fact, I'm going to skip off real quick because they have tried to come for you, Ms. Mayor. And I just want to clarify, you did not work for NPR when those statements were made, did you?
That is correct, Madam
And to
Chair.
be clear, free speech is not about whatever it is that y'all want somebody to say. And the idea that you want to shut down everybody that is not Fox News is bullshit. We need to stop playing because that's what y'all are doing in here. You don't want to hear the opinions of anybody else. And the Constitution says Congress shall make no law respecting or establishing of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the
gentlewoman's time has expired.
Press.
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
Just random.
Nothing gentle about her.
Well, yeah,
Nothing,
just randomness.
nothing gentle about
But see,
her.
when she got off of what her staff wrote for her, when she said, "Oh, I'm gonna skip off," I'm sure her staff was like, "Jesus be offense, Lord Jesus be offense." If she stays on the points that they wrote for her, she could have wrapped up her testimony under the time. She wouldn't have been gavelled out, and she wouldn't have sounded like she was crashing out over this woman who was the quote unquote the head of NPR. I don't know why she feels like she has to try to kind of overpower people with her commentary.
She's nasty.
That's exactly what the overriding sensation is. She is super nasty in all of the way that she conducts herself. What happened to decorum?
No.
But that's not even in her dictionary. One of the things I agree with her when she was reading the First Amendment about Congress should not be abridging the freedom of the press. I agree. Let's defund NPR.
Absolutely.
Let's do it. Let's defund it. The Congress should not support it or abridge it. Let's take it off of the government books. Give the people back their money. Why do we need an NPR or PBS, whatever you want to call it? If the states want to fund it, only through private donations, not taxpayer funds, then let's do that. But other than that, I agree with her for reading the First Amendment. That's number one. Number two, was she supposed to be asking the questions or giving a testimony?
Well, then now it's all theater.
It is theater.
They give these
Soliloquies,
long monologues,
yeah.
right? For some type of to get on the news.
Sound
But
bites.
I want to go back to because there were some people who were actually doing some work. Like Congressman Jim Jordan.
Yes.
So he dug into the NPR CEO of this hearing. So this here is the comment again. Yeah, this is where she he talked to them about what the NPR and PBS are all about. This is clip 12.
We should note, again, and you and I have said this in the air many times, there is no evidence that Joe Biden was, involved in any wrongdoing.
Of course, want to note that there is no evidence that Joe Biden or Hunter Biden has done anything wrong.
I just want to reiterate.
And let's be clear for the viewers.
There is no evidence Biden did anything wrong.
Governor, you got a second?
Literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
This is why independent media is so important. Thanks to people like you, patriots who love America and stand for truth, we're making a difference. Together, we've turned them off, called them out for their lies and propaganda, and held them accountable for their disdain for God-fearing, freedom-loving Americans like us. But we can't stop here. It's time to take action with our dollars. Let's make 2025 the year we double down on our commitment to values-driven choices. Vote with your dollars. Support Made in America. Back companies that honor our families, faith, and country. We found an exciting way to make this switch, and we want you to join us. Check out www.popandswitch.com and click Yes, I Want to Make the Switch. It's that easy. It's time to walk away from corporations like BlackRock and Vanguard that undermine our principles. Let's invest in America. Let's support businesses that share our love for this country. You don't have to take on everything at once, but you can start here. Join us in making this one small yet powerful step. Visit www.popandswitch.com. Click the link and schedule a call with our team to learn how you can make the switch. Together, we can create real change.
What's up, guys? This is Giovanni, co-founder of Metro Conservative Media. We are the definitive home for the urban conservative. You think you got what it takes? Go to metroconservativemedia.com and click Join the Movement now.
Congressman, I have never seen any instance of political bias determining editorial decisions. No.
Well, Mr. Berliner, in his story last year, wrote, in the D.C. area, editorial positions at NPR, he said he found 87 registered Democrats, 0 Republicans. Is that accurate?
We do not track the numbers or the voter registration, but I find that
was award-winning journalist who worked 25 years at NPR, Mr. Berliner. Was he lying when he wrote that?
I am not presuming such. I just we don't track that information about our journalists.
87 to 0, and you're not biased.
I think that is concerning if those numbers are accurate.
It's concerning. I mean, it wasn't 44-43. It wasn't 60-27. It wasn't 70-17. It wasn't even 80-7. It was 87 Democrats, 0 Republicans, and you say NPR is not biased. How about the big stories over the last few years? According to Mr. Berliner, again, he wrote on the Trump-Russia story, he wrote, at NPR, we hitched our wagon to Trump's most visible antagonist, Representative Adam Schiff. They said they interviewed him 25 times. Is that accurate?
I was not there at the time, but those numbers sound accurate. Yes.
Those sound accurate. But then he said when the Mueller report came out and Robert Mueller said he found no evidence of collusion, he said Russiagate faded from our programming. Is that accurate?
Again, I was not there at the time. I couldn't say.
You couldn't say?
I was not at NPR at the time.
You didn't prepare for that? You knew we were going to ask you about this guy, didn't you? It's come up like 6,000 times already in the hearing.
I just couldn't say whether it faded from our coverage, sir.
How about this story? October 2020, the New York Post had the Hunter Biden laptop story, and one of those editors, I guess one of those 87 Democrat editors, said this: we don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories. We don't want to waste the listeners' and readers' times on stories that are just pure distractions. Was that a pure distraction story?
Our current editorial leadership believes that that was a mistake, as do I.
Yeah, the whole country knows that was a mistake. Definitely.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. She, and we're going to show you more clips of this lying woman. She knows what she said. She knows what NPR is all about, and she's just trying to cover it up now. Shelley, what did you think about that?
Okay, JJ, we can't blame the lady for when she wasn't there. I'm saying we can't blame her for when she wasn't there, right? Okay, we can't do that. However, she does know what's going on. She said her editorial staff that they admit that there was a mistake, whatever. I just want to defund NPR. Look, first of all, every human being has a bias. I'm sick of paying for those who deny or don't believe that they do. And then they want to slant the story to that. Just admit your bias, but don't do it on my taxpayer money. Don't do it. Have private donations, buy your own time on the airwaves, NPR, PBS, whomever. Don't do it on my taxpayer dollars. Other than that, admit your bias. Everyone has one. And if you're going to be an editor and you're going to pick and choose, which all editors do, they pick and choose stories, at least acknowledge and admit your bias and stop trying to fool the American public.
And let me say something. It is you can be biased towards something, but then if you're in a teaching situation or a news situation as they are, not put that into your media or into your lessons. I remember in high school and in college, I had professors. I didn't know what their leaning was.
Exactly.
Right.
But they were able to teach a course and provide both subjects or both areas or ideologies or multiple ideologies, I should say, and then let us be the critical thinkers.
Exactly.
But see here, Jim Jordan said that there were no people on the right working at NPR.
None. Right. There was none of that voice. There was nothing that kind of moderated all of the heavy dim, and there still isn't.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
When you take a look into who Miss Mayer actually is, she's a globalist.
Yeah, she's a leftist too.
She went to the Truman National Security, school. If nothing else screams, I am a weirdo lefty Birkenstock wearing former Tesla driver, right? It's her.
Right.
It's absolutely her. So she built this program. She walked into a program that was already probably left leaning and just ran with it.
Right. She loved it.
The money was not going to stop. They're publicly funded. And as long as we continue to pay our taxes, she was going to continue to do her thing on our dime. She did not, or none of them expected Trump to win.
No.
Yeah.
And if he did, for him to do anything about it.
I'll say when most people, myself, when I think of NPR, when I listen to NPR or anything on NPR, I usually go because I want to hear what the other side is thinking. I don't go there with the idea that it's going to be balanced or even neutral. Not at all. I go because I said, let me hear what the left side or the progressive side, because that's what I'm going to get from, I'm going to say 99% of the programming.
Yeah. Well, here she is. If you want to know who this woman is, they go into her background in this next clip. This is clip 13.
Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
I've never said that, sir.
Yes, you did. You said it in January of 2020. You tweeted, yes, the North, yes, all of us, yes, America, yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt, yes, reparations, yes, on this day.
I don't believe that was a reference to fiscal reparations, sir.
What kind of reparations was it a reference to?
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
What?
Yeah, what is
you lying hag?
What does that mean?
She's a heifer.
She's a liar.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Truth is not.
When most people hear the words reparations, debt, came before us, you kind of come to the conclusion that it's something that you pay. You want to refund or reimburse whatever. You want to reparate those who came before. This is foolishness. So all of this thinking shapes her being the editorial chief or whatever her position is. But this idea of reparations suddenly doesn't mean you owe people who came before us. That's a lie. That's a lie.
First of all, it was January during King Day.
Yeah.
When she made these comments. So of course she wasn't talking about reparations. Right? Of course she wasn't talking about that. The thing that I want people to focus in on this is how calm and cool and collected she is. She has this mentality that the money should not stop, even if we are globalist, leftist, Birkenstock wearing former Tesla drivers.
Yes.
It should not stop because people on our side need the truth. The only thing NPR is good for and has been good for over the course of the last few years is Tiny Desk. That's it. You want good music? Tiny Desk. It's a short little concert, it's really sweet. Maybe 4 or 5 songs from some really great artists and you move on with your life. But no news, because all of their news is not left-leaning. It is leftist talking points.
Yeah.
100%.
And my issue here is I don't respect these people because they can't even come out and say what they are.
Exactly.
She knows that she's a loony leftist. She knows that she's a leftist. She knows that these are the things she believes, and she knows that this is what NPR is about.
Absolutely.
So just say it. Just admit it. Admit it.
I agree. And this is another thing that just digs into my skin. These people on the progressive side, primarily, they have the audacity. They don't want to subsidize their own ideas. They always want to use taxpayer government money to subsidize their foolishness. I mean, again, I'm for free market. Take your ideas out to the market, get your own donors or whatever your boy have at it. If it's legal, it's fair, whatever. If somebody wants to support it, they will. And you have the right to, again, buy your airspace or with the airtime or whatever. But they want to dig into the coffers of the American people who don't even subscribe or support their causes, and then they think that they have the right to do so.
Yeah. And then they're going to sit there and lie to Congress about it.
Right.
Oh, it's absolutely necessary. It's the way that people get emergency information in rural communities, like the community that I live in. The way you get emergency information is there's a very loud bell.
I was going to say
that goes off. I mean, it will jar you out of a dead sleep. It is designed to let you know something's happening. We have a different sound for when there's a tornado. So rural people have conquered, bad things happening to us without the use of the leftist NPR.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Folks, if you're tired of the mainstream media narrative and want the truth without the spin, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. We're building a bold, unapologetic community that stands for faith, freedom, and common sense. If you want to rep the movement, also, you can take a look at our merch. Every purchase helps us fight back and speak louder. The link's in the description. But as I said, don't just watch, engage, share, and gear up. Let's make some noise because we sure are.
Okay, that's why you're talking about that. I have my
she has on
the Butch.
Oh, you did.
So like KJ said, gear up. Get your merchandise at poppinpoliticslive.com. You can get one of these too, and we can just have a little club. Take a picture of you wearing our gear. Send it to us on our email.
Wow!
Listen.
Oh, I didn't even realize you had it on.
And I can tell you the wait is over. Full disclosure. The ladies will tell you I am not patient. I am not. So I placed an order, and when it didn't magically appear the next day like it was Amazon Prime, I was like, where is my, I was having a whole meltdown. And so KJ being KJ was like, oh, it'll come. You can wait. I was like, oh no, I can't. I cannot wait. Where's my stuff? So my stuff finally came when I was away in Mexico, and I am so excited to put on my pop stuff.
Oh, good.
Friday and Saturday broadcast. I will have it.
Don't forget, everybody, when you buy our merch, buy some merch from us. Take a picture of it, and they can send it through the channel, right?
Yeah. You can send it to us through our email. You would email us at. It should be right there on here.
Poppinpoliticslive.com.
Yeah,
go to that website.
Yeah, go to the website and you hit contact, and we're right there.
And I'll Photoshop myself into your picture and send it back.
Yeah. All right. So, want to talk about something somewhat local, but it's actually hit national news. Today marks the anniversary of the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. So this collapsed in Maryland, killing 6 people, shocking the nation, and exposing deep cracks, not just in our infrastructure, but in government responsibility. Today, Maryland leaders honored the 6 construction workers who were killed that night when the road they were repairing buckled underneath them. While police were able to stop traffic in the moments before a massive cargo ship plowed into the bridge, they didn't have time to alert the overnight crew. Take a look at this extraordinary moment 1 year ago. This is clip 7.
At the NPA headquarters, R62 is about to
Wow. So 1 year later, Shelley, are the victims' families any closer to justice? Has anything really changed?
I don't think so. I think what may have changed are Wes Moore's talking points, particularly since that NTSB report has come out. But it's kind of surreal when you watch that, knowing how close we are to that bridge, how many of us have used it. I can still remember I was lying in bed that early morning, if you will. It was still dark. I call it old dark 30. And I thought I was dreaming because I heard the news on, and I had the radio on. I heard the news and I was like, okay, I'm just dreaming. But nevertheless, it was a nightmare, really. But since more information has come out, I think there are going to be some more and more lawsuits, because I think Maryland rushed to sue the Dolly company. And I think there was some culpability, at least some contributory factors on the Maryland side that are coming out, particularly in this report.
Yeah,
I agree.
Well, now comes the part that's really going to upset you all. It's going to infuriate every tax-paying American. A vulnerability assessment may have identified the risk of a ship strike, but Maryland never conducted one. This is clip 8. Take a look.
The Maryland Transportation Authority never ran the calculation on the Key Bridge, and as of October 2024, they still haven't on the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. Had they ran the calculation on the Francis Scott Key Bridge, the MDTA would have been aware that the bridge was almost 30 times greater than the risk threshold AASHTO sets for critical essential bridges. 30 times greater. And almost 15 times greater for Pier 17, which the Dolly struck, as well as Pier 18. What's frustrating is, not only did MDTA fail to conduct the vulnerability assessment on the Key Bridge, they did not provide, nor were they able to provide, the NTSB with the data needed to conduct the assessment, including the characteristics of vessel traffic passing under the bridge, vessel transit speeds, vessel loading characteristics, waterway and navigable channel geometry, water depths, environmental conditions, bridge geometry, pier protection systems, and ultimate lateral capacity of the bridge piers. We asked them for that data. They didn't have it. We had to develop that data ourselves.
All right. So, in other words, this could have been prevented, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nicole, what are your thoughts here?
I remember the morning very vividly, because I was upstate and I was supposed to be in my Wacomico office, meaning driving across that bridge, and my phone would not stop ringing. All of my friends in Wacomico were like, "Where are you? Answer your phone, answer your phone." But then my family was calling me going, "Where are you? Answer your phone." And I'm like, well, hold on, let me, figure out why everybody wants me to answer the phone. And when I saw it, it was breathtaking. But listening to what she had to say and knowing there were contributory factors that could have prevented it, it's hard to hear. However, my thought then goes to the Bay Bridge.
Oh, absolutely.
Which I cross
absolutely
4 times a week,
absolutely,
every single week.
Absolutely.
And they've been working on it. I give them that. They have been working diligently on that bridge.
Have they done the risk assessment test?
They're doing it now.
They're doing it now. Look, across our country, we have plenty of bridges and roadways, highways. You always see these people out here doing all the work. And I say all the time, I'm sick of paying for infrastructure that never gets structured. I mean, it just doesn't, right?
It's forever.
It's forever, ever. Nothing gets, we still, potholes, of course, have no comparison to something like this. People lost their lives. But the fact of the matter is, we pay a whole hell of a lot in taxes, and this is what we get.
We're getting DEI initiatives,
exactly,
rainbow crosswalks,
exactly,
climate equity initiatives, and all
Black
this
Lives Matter
stuff.
Avenue.
Right.
Yes.
But how many bridges, like you mentioned, how many bridges across the country are one accident
away, exactly.
from collapse.
Away from collapse.
One buckle, yeah.
When you look at the Bay Bridge, and it's beautiful. The
San Francisco Bay Bridge too, just like, yeah.
Yes, when you look at these bridges, the view is spectacular, right? Until you get real close up on it, and you're like, well, wait a minute, is that a crack? I mean, like, I'm one of those people. Is that a crack? Oh my God! But you're already on it, so you just make your way across. But they have been working on the Bay Bridge, the Maryland's Bay Bridge, for a while now. They've expanded it. You always see the tuggers out there, and I don't know what they're doing, but there's some men and women out there industriously working. But it's been a couple of years.
Course, these bridges and roadways, they need I'm going to say constant monitoring, assessments, things like that's supposed to happen, right? Maintenance. They do need the maintenance. The problem is that it's not being done. Right. But what the hell are we paying for? Because we have a new budget bill that's coming out. Okay, I'm sorry.
I want to acknowledge our super chatters here, folks. Thank you all so much. All right, we have Robin with a $10 super sticker. Certainly appreciate you. Thank you so much, Robin. Yeah, and I want to ask you all, do you trust your states to keep you safe? Or is this just the next disaster waiting to happen? Sound off in the comments. Where are you all watching from? And do you trust your state to keep you safe for things like this, infrastructure and things? Yeah, sound off in the chat. All right, now we're going to move right along because this leads us into this next segment. Folks, some of you may know, we're in Maryland. Maryland is a very leftist, liberal state. And we're facing a $3.3 billion deficit. And Democrats think the solution is to hammer business owners. Take a look at this. This is clip 11.
And so here is my warning to the private sector of Maryland, all of those who have small businesses and medium-sized businesses in the state of Maryland, as well as a warning to all of those who are even contemplating moving to Maryland. Don't move into Maryland. And if you have a small business and a medium-sized business, get out of Maryland now. The Democrat Party sees you as an ATM machine, and they will never stop until such time as they have the perfect socialist government that will then collapse upon itself because there is no revenue left, as they call it, but really taxes left to collect. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that on this floor, but I think it's now time. Get out of Maryland if you have a business. The majority party doesn't respect you. They don't care about you.
Wow. So before you ladies go in, I want to just talk about some of the stuff that we're dealing with. The addition of 2 new tax brackets. People earning between $500,000 and $1 million will be taxed at a rate of 6.25%. And those earning over $1 million will be taxed at 6.5%, a 20% increase on the standard deduction rate that taxpayers can claim. They're creating a new 2% capital gain surcharge for people who earn over $350,000. A repeal of the 6% sales tax exemption on photographic or artistic material, an increase in the cannabis sales tax from 9% to 12%, a 6% tax applied to vending machine sales, the increase of the maximum local income tax rates to 3.3%. I mean, this is just some of the stuff that the budget passed today that they have put in on Marylanders. Nicole, I want to go to you, and I know I may not have covered everything.
You didn't.
No.
This is crazy.
That is
it's too much.
The tip of the spear. Just talking about the tax implications, let's talk about the fees, right? Because fees aren't broken down according to income bracket. Fees are what everybody pays, right? Registering your car here in the state of Maryland is going to cost you a couple of $100s. It's going to cost you even more to do emissions testing, although not every county in the state is required to do emissions testing. So it's a special tax. It's a tax. Now, that's the tax that really burns my biscuits, because the people who don't have to pay in order to get to work, drive through all the counties that have to pay. You know what I mean? So if we're polluting, I think everybody should have to pay or not. But
I know elderly don't have to pay too.
At the certain
they didn't roll back. Older people have historic cars. Cars that or still very much gas powered, that kind of thing, they're charging more fees for that and making that car have to be even older in order to get those tags and reducing the amount of miles that you can drive. Of course, we'll still have our gas tax. They're talking about a mileage tax. Well, they will follow your mileage using your Easy Pass or using your license plate.
They are
Yes,
trying again.
Oh,
It's
ma'am.
whatever you do when you just breathe, spit, or shit. They are coming for you. Not only that, this bill, I think it's been said enough, is that this goes into effect July 1st.
Yep.
However, it's indexed. So it's not going to be that this is it. Next year, they can add on to this.
Yes.
They can add on to this, not add on to the base levels from where they start. They can add on to this. So it can keep going up and up and up and up. And it will in Maryland. What it's going to do, that delegate, thank you for him, because he was right. People are going to leave. It's a disincentive to even want to earn $500,000 or more. It's a disincentive to be here in Maryland. You know, if you want to do that, it's going to be it's going to drive people away. The governor had the audacity to be on a local talk show, a popular show here this morning. And of course, he's talking in all of these vagaries and people were asking, the teachers in this part of this bill, what is the blueprint?
Yep.
The blueprint. Teachers are, because of the unions here, the Maryland State Education Association, MSEA, their powerful union is advocating or pushing for to be out of the classroom 40% of the time, only in the classroom 60% of the time. What? Yet they are going to be getting raises. Now, the blueprint itself, a part of all of this, is not even funded. So they when they passed it, they had no finance stream for it. They passed it unfunded, and now it has gotten bigger. That $3.3 something billion deficit, think about it. We started when Moore came into office, there was like a $5.5, almost $6 billion surplus, right? So this means that in 2 years, he spent the $6 billion surplus, and he spent $3 more something that we didn't have, which makes it so the deficit, it may be 3 point something billion, but the real number is probably closer to $10 billion in debt.
And let me say this, because I know we have viewers that watch from all over the country, some outside of the country, and we appreciate you all. So, but what I want to say is some people say, well, that's liberal Maryland. We don't have to worry about that. We're in Texas. We're in Florida. We're in Arkansas. Yes, you do.
Exactly.
Because what's happening here is if next 2028, or actually we got a Wisconsin election going on now that could really we may lose the House if we don't win this. If a Democrat gets in office as the president, or if we lose the House and the Senate, we're in trouble, folks, because this is the blueprint for all Democrats across the country. They want big government so they can have power and control, and they can tax us out the wazoo.
Absolutely.
This is what they want.
They've never met a dollar they're not willing to reach their hand into your pocket and take. That's just the way they are. They don't see good governance, meaning we had a program. The program served its purpose. Let's defund that program and move forward. If we could just have one legislative session here in Maryland, just one session where we didn't pass any new law, but we took a look at the laws that are on the book and removed the regulations and laws we no longer need, some of this deficit would be quelled. Some of this deficit would be
That's
quelled.
too much. This has been, Nicole, this has been one of my quagmires. I don't understand why people continuously vote the same types or the people back into office that want to come and take literally from your mouth. You can't even feed your children honestly and with dignity. I don't understand why they think that they don't know what to do better than with their own money and labor and time, that a whole bureaucracy of these unnamed people, unknown people, they know how to spend your money better. And what do you get for it? I don't understand that mentality. I don't understand that thinking. Do you really think you are incapable of managing your own life to that degree that some elected or unelected bureaucrat knows best how to spend your money that you go out and earn every day? I don't understand that. It drives me crazy. It literally drives me crazy. It makes me so enraged to think that there are people with a God-given brain, a beautiful mind, as the movie says, and you think that you can't even just add your own budget and manage your own budget. I don't understand it. I will never understand it.
Listen, listen, it's not even about just the budget. These are the same people who say that you don't know how to parent your children.
Yeah.
I'm a much better parent than the state of Maryland. Much better parent than the state of Maryland, and let alone the federal government.
Right.
Their control over our lives from their perspective has no boundaries. No. So when you see Delegate Mark Fisher, he's a firebrand. He's from down my way. Maryland has its own Freedom Caucus, and Delegate Matt Morgan is the chair of that. You want to talk about guys who get on the floor of Maryland's House and blow their bangs back? Yeah. Every time Matt Morgan gets on the floor of the House, I turn all the TVs in the practice on. Because when I tell you he lays them flat out, but in a very nice way. You know, he keeps his decorum, but he calls it what it is. He's like, you all act like you don't live here. Exactly. You act like you're not going to pay these fees. And then they're like, oh, well, you know, your time is over, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. They use parliamentary procedures to try to shut them down. But he's really resonating now. Yeah. He's really resonating with people who no longer have this, you know, extra income. Because you're looking at some federal employees who earn $350, who earn $280. Let me
tell you something.
Who now earn nothing.
That is not a whole lot of money. I mean, if you are in a 2-person household, you in Maryland, because Maryland is very it's a high cost of living.
Expensive.
Right.
It is very
$350 is not a lot of money.
No, it's not.
It's not a lot of money.
Let me tell you.
They're taxing middle class. That's middle class income.
Absolutely. Here in Maryland, $300,000 is not a lot for a single person.
Right.
Exactly.
It's just I am squarely middle class. I'm not even like this much above middle class. And I work hard, y'all. You hear me? I got all kinds of side hustles and jobs and whatnot in order to live in this state. It is very expensive.
It's very expensive.
So when you talk about taxing people who make $350,000, I'm gonna make $349.9, and I'm gonna stand on that.
That's what I'm saying. That's the disincentive again, right? It's like, why the hell do you want to work this hard, and then half of it or more is going to be eaten out before you even get your take-home pay? You notice that take-home pay, what you are allowed to take home, the audacity, the arrogance, it just drives you crazy. Our tax system was never supposed to be like this. Our Constitution was never meant for the government to run our lives. Certainly not down to the damn penny. And have us we're basically government employees.
Yeah, and then you still gotta drive on these roads where you can barely be falling into them in so many potholes
or dying on the damn bridge.
On the bridge. Mm-hmm. Folks, I do want to acknowledge our super chatters. Thank you all so much. Carla with the $5 super chat. She says, "Thank you for your voices of truth at such a time as this." Absolutely. Thank you. Jay Hunter Lee with the $5 super chat says, "Come visit the Skyway Bridge in St. Petersburg, Florida."
When we come, Jay, you have to be our tour guide.
You got anybody want to host us? We will be there next week.
Say less.
Yes.
Say less.
Jay Hunter says, "I give no F's for people who vote blue, no matter who." Right on, Jay. Thank you.
I understand, Jay. I understand. And look, and this is just a what do you call it? Whatever. Anecdote. An anecdotal story. I see people almost every day in their circumstances that have worked, and now they rely on the government, and it's so undignified. Right. I mean, these people can't even buy the basic supplies that they need to literally wipe their asses. Literally, because they're waiting for, is my Social Security coming, or whatever. And it's like, I mean, it's heart-wrenching, but at the same time, it's angering because their mentality has gotten them there. Oh, the government, as I say, the government is going to do this. No, it's not. This is why you have to walk around looking like you a daggone street person and like you have no dignity. Like God didn't create you fearfully and wonderfully. It's so infuriating. It's just so infuriating. I'm sorry, you guys.
So can I just?
We got another super chatter here. Allie says, "Did you hear about Fannie and Wade busted in the airport?"
What did they try to do? Get on the plane?
Yeah. Well, they're not supposed to be together.
Okay.
Right. And so they were on video recorded together going on vacation, I guess.
So, Shelley, to your point, I want to quote Logic from Just the Guys, who said, I think it was Saturday, it might have been this past Saturday or Saturday before, where he said, "Bring back shame. Bring back shame."
Yeah.
That's something that we're missing today. People have no shame. That girl, what's her name? Danko 30 or whatever the hell, the big girl.
The big moss. The moss.
The moss.
The one we talked about, right?
Danko 30.
She did a nude photo shoot.
Yeah.
right? And she was like, my body's beautiful and I can have any man. I'll take any woman's man and all this other stuff. I was like, girl, like, not saying that she's not, doing her thing.
Oh, please.
Because there is, let me tell you, there's a pig for every blanket. Let's just say that.
And there's mud for every pig.
But her level, her level of self-confidence, if it's not just her, talking shit, but her level of self-confidence is through the roof. She has no shame. She has no shame whatsoever. First of all, she knew damn well she couldn't fit in that little bitty car. She was just being cheap. She should have just got, Uber XXL or whatever that was. A bigger truck.
We talk here. We always ask, the question comes up one way or the other. Are there people in our country who really think like this, and why they keep voting this way? I don't have a clear answer for that, except to say that it's a mindset. We need a cultural mindset change.
Yeah, we certainly do. We
need a reset. Where's the reset button? Remember that easy button they used to have at Staples? Somebody hit that dog on.
I'm praying for the rapture. Rapture, come now.
Listen here, KJ. Don't
cut it all out, burn it down. God, come back tomorrow.
Not tomorrow, Lord. I'm trying to lock me a man down.
Jay said, come on down.
I'm trying to get married again.
Okay, cool. Okay. Wait a minute. Jay said, come on down. I got y'all, especially if you like cigars.
Love a good gar.
Yes!
You like love a good gar.
I smell it.
I like the smell. No, I like the smell of them. I like the smell of them.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. Tijuana put it up with the $5 super chat. It says, Nicole, I hope you had a nice visit in Mexico. Mi casa es su casa.
Let me tell you, I suntanned.
Jay, I like brandy, so I like some nice brandy. So
it's all about you. We're talking about Nicole.
Oh, I wasn't finished with Jay.
Listen, I'll bring some Trump wine. I went to the winery before I left, and
you keep talking about this Trump wine.
Yeah, you didn't even bring us any.
First of all, I had a hard day today. Just so y'all know, my afternoon was wicked. I mean,
no, I'm just joking.
There's some behind the scenes video that I'm sure Giovanni is eventually going to post about us talking about a situation that happened in my office. And it just kind of snowballed into a whole thing. So I forgot to bring the Trump wine. I had to change my dress into another dress. It's just been a day.
No,
we had to bring it be here.
We had to before we move off of this subject, I want to show you this next clip because it doesn't. I mean, if you think that was enough with all the taxes and stuff, take a look at what they're trying to do now and justifying it. Clip 4.
We should note, again, and you and I have said this in the air many times, there is no evidence that Joe Biden was, involved in any wrongdoing.
Of course, want to note that there is no evidence that Joe Biden or Hunter Biden has done anything wrong.
I just want to reiterate.
And let's be clear for the viewers.
There is no evidence Biden did anything wrong.
Governor, you got a second?
Literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
This is why independent media is so important. Thanks to people like you, patriots who love America and stand for truth, we're making a difference. Together, we've turned them off, called them out for their lies and propaganda, and held them accountable for their disdain for God-fearing, freedom-loving Americans like us. But we can't stop here. It's time to take action with our dollars. Let's make 2025 the year we double down on our commitment to values-driven choices. Vote with your dollars. Support Made in America. Back companies that honor our families, faith, and country. We found an exciting way to make this switch, and we want you to join us. Check out www.popandswitch.com and click Yes, I Want to Make the Switch. It's that easy. It's time to walk away from corporations like BlackRock and Vanguard that undermine our principles. Let's invest in America. Let's support businesses that share our love for this country. You don't have to take on everything at once, but you can start here. Join us in making this one small yet powerful step. Visit www.popandswitch.com. Click the link and schedule a call with our team to learn how you can make the switch. Together, we can create real change.
What's up, guys? This is Giovanni, co-founder of Metro Conservative Media. We are the definitive home for the urban conservative. You think you got what it takes? Go to metroconservativemedia.com and click Join the Movement now.
And this is about asking folks who are doing well, right? They're making capital gains. This is money that they didn't have to work to earn. These aren't wages. This is money you make by investing money you already have, okay? And this is additional income, passive income, folks like to call it, and we're saying we're going to tax it 1% more.
This is diabolical.
Bitch, please.
Yes. Yes, bitch, please.
No, that's
yes. How can you? Wait a minute. Let's back it up.
This is money they haven't earned, right?
That we don't work.
earned.
You didn't work to do that. Like it just came out of the trees. Like children think money grows on trees. I mean, the nerve, the audacity, the utter arrogance. This is what they think. They think they own us. They own our labor, our time, our work. These bitches need to get out of office. I'm tired of you all voting this way. In Maryland, in particular, we are what, like 3-1, 2-1 Democrat. These are the people in our Maryland General Assembly, and this is how they think. Marylanders, if you're on this feed, all of these people in Maryland, you better start voting differently. You need to contact the Jessica Feldman types or whatever and tell her to sit her ass down. She doesn't own us. She doesn't own you. I'm sick of these people. Get it right, Maryland. Our state is beautiful. We want to keep it.
Yeah, and let's talk about, because what she's referring to are the capital gains. They are going to tax us heavily on capital gains. So this reveals a fundamental misunderstanding or deliberate misrepresentation of how investments work. Capital gains often result from years of hard-earned income being strategically invested in place. We do have a super chat here. Says Pamela says, heard Shelley from the other room. Can you
step away for a moment?
Thank you, Pam. Nicole.
Thank you. You really sure can't step away.
Yeah,
you really cannot, because things get heated here on Pop. Yeah. You know, there's so much to be said about how industrious workers are, right? And in your mind, you said, okay, you know, I made 100,000 this year. Next year, I'm gonna shoot for 200.
Right.
Next year, I'm gonna shoot for 300. But what she's saying is, well, the money you made is not your money.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. When I was working, I didn't see you, Miss Feldman, helping out.
Nope.
You ain't ran one patient. You haven't done one test. Where have you been? Where have you been? We absolutely, positively have got to win this state back. And I think, and I know this is horrible, and you guys can just feel some kind of way. Breaking up the stranglehold federal employees had on this Maryland politics, I'm glad that it's over.
Oh, I'm with you with that. You said it, Nicole, like she said that, like where were you? They don't think of work, like you said, work. They only think of work in the sense of them going to the legislature, looking, getting dressed up every day. That's what they think. They really think low, very lowly of people who don't do that kind of that work, if you will, at the state house at that level. They think of the street sweeper and the cashier and they don't think of them as working.
And also they expect people to, like, if we are talking about building a business, they say they want us all to get grants. They want us to get help with these businesses and stuff. And so they feel like, if they can provide money for businesses to start up, then they can do whatever they can say and do and tax us as much as they can. And so this is why it's really good if you are able to do this on your own without these grants and government assistance and things like that. And this is why we all talk about when we hear, many Black people in the Black community always start off with, well, we need the government to do this for us.
The government.
No. Even people who, have a good mind and say, I want my own, I want to do this on my, we want to start our own businesses. We want our own schools. But then they'll say, and the government needs to help us do this.
Right.
No. Do it on your own. So you don't owe anybody anything.
It's like
they can't tell you how to run your business.
Exactly. It's like inviting the fox into the hen house.
Exactly.
You build a beautiful hen house. The hens are laying eggs and whatnot. And you say, you know what we need? We need a fox.
When I hear people talk like that, one of the men of historical men that always come to my mind is Booker T. Washington. Out of slavery, literally out of slavery, he Tuskegee, whatever you want to call it. He rounded up the people, the young people. They lived at Tuskegee.
Yeah.
They worked at Tuskegee. They built Tuskegee. They planted. They cut down the lumber that they needed. They washed the clothes. And then he turned those skills into economic thresholds, if you will, right? So these people, not only did they get an education, they worked for their education. They supported their education. They had a skill when they left. And then they went out into the community to help reproduce those same skills among their communities. So this is what I always think about. It didn't use the government, they did it themselves, and however long it took.
That was the beauty of the HBCUs early on.
Yeah.
Is that, okay, we don't want the government assistance. You want to come to this school and your dad's a chicken farmer, we're going to need these many chickens, just to make it work. We've lost our sense of independence.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you were talking about people getting checks in the mail, they only give you enough to want a little bit more next month.
Exactly.
And it's a never-ending cycle.
Never
the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life, and I've seen some sad stuff. The saddest thing I've ever seen in my life, in a little town near where I live, there are 5 generations living in the same Section 8 housing. So you got the grandmother and the grandfather who don't live together. They all got their own little situation. Then you got 3 sons and 2 daughters.
Wow.
Adults who all live in there. Like the one whole side of the development is nothing but this family. When I said, what are you guys doing? I mean, all of them have jobs. Oh no, we're not paying market rate rent.
Yeah.
Something's wrong with you. I said, but people knock on your door to come in and look at your house to see if it's clean enough. What you're doing, selling your freedom for little pieces. Yeah. It's just anti-American. It is definitely anti-Black culture because that's not where we started. And pray to God that's not how we finished.
Well, I'll tell you one thing though. I respect the Latino community. Many of them. I know so many people in the Latino community that they believe in, no, I'm not taking handouts from the government, and I'm going to help. They start out with little means, right? Everybody's in, an area or a house or whatever. Everybody's got a business. Everybody's got a hustle. I have a friend, who you talk to him. He helps. He's doing construction work. And you may say, man, I need some help with my my lawn. I'm about to get. I got somebody for you. I need anything you need. He has somebody that can do it, and they do it well.
Yes,
they do it well. They're business minded. They come in, they give you an estimate, and they do it well. And he keeps it all amongst the family and friends. My brother does this. My cousin does that.
My son does this. Yes.
But that's the way we used to be.
Yeah.
That is the way we used to be until the breaking up of the great Black family. We had the gold standard families. Yeah. We did. We really did. We took care of our old.
Everybody in the community. You could go knock on so-and-so door, tell them I need to come and whatever, hang this light bulb or whatever. Somebody knew how to use a screwdriver. Somebody knew how to paint. Somebody knew how to cut. It was,
your sense of community is gone. Yeah, absolutely.
It is. And it's a shame. But I got to give credit where credit is due. I thank our Latino brothers and sisters who helped this get Trump in office. Because they came out.
Everybody. Hit the like button if you happy Trump's in office.
Right, yes.
I did it twice. Let me tell you.
We have a $5 super chat here. Kenzie 14 says, if they are taxing our capital gains, will they reimburse us for our losses?
That's a rhetorical question, right?
Jay Hunter, we got it all. All right, Jay.
All right, Jay.
Right, Florida. All right, so we are running out of time here, folks. I got to get to this last segment, but again, once you all to sound off in the chat about this, and if you're in Maryland and you're wondering why your paycheck isn't stretching or why your business can't grow, this budget is why. So would you stay in a state that targets job creators like this? I want you guys to sound off in the chat. Are Democrats killing the American dream in Maryland? And if they get their say across the country? So sound off in the chat and let us know what you think.
But he's Black, KJ. He's Black and he's shiny and he's charming.
Yeah, talking about the Maryland governor.
He makes me look like the Joker when he smiles.
Yeah. He's a little. I don't
look like the Joker. Full stop.
Right. He's very effeminate. He does this thing where he's like,
Yes.
That's
all the
it.
time.
Like,
Every
first
time
of
he
all,
does,
he's
like he
posing
says
for the
something.
camera.
He says something. He says, "Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do my very best for Maryland."
Yeah, I told you he's gay. I told you he's a bitch before. I mean,
Well, listen, is he like the bitch butch?
Yeah, we have our merch, folks. Yep, that's our merch. Definitely check it out. Go to popandpoliticslive.com and click shop. Yes, Shelly is wearing her Butch Bitch Bishop shirt. Yep.
3B. That's right.
3 Bs.
All right. So speaking of these leftist states and cities, I want to talk about Massachusetts. So Massachusetts courts are releasing illegal aliens accused of child rape. Well, the R word, we don't want to say it on here, and violent crimes, and not even telling ICE. That's not just reckless, folks. That's evil. Take a look at this. This is clip 9.
You are seeing more individuals, right, with
Correct.
detainers placed on them.
Yes.
What do you think's going on?
Well, I think what we've seen, and I think it's pretty clear by the data, is that we've seen the detainers triple in the last 3 years. We were in the 30s a couple of years ago. We exceeded 100 in 2024. To me, that means there are more people illegally in the Commonwealth committing crimes.
9 child rapists that were in jail in Massachusetts.
So sheriffs can't hold someone who's been bailed out of their jail. The next logical question is there a standard bail set for people charged with child rape in Massachusetts? We went back into those ICE press releases to find out. Take this man, arrested by ICE in February. He was charged with 3 counts of rape of a child by force in 2022. He posted his $7,500 bail at Essex Superior Court and was released on a condition of staying in his residence. Or this ICE arrestee, charged with aggravated rape of a child. He was released from Lawrence District Court on $7,500 bail with a GPS monitoring device. Finally, this man. He was charged with indecent assault and battery on a person over 14 and assault to rape. He was released without bail, but with a GPS monitoring device. All of these cases are ongoing, and none of these men have been convicted. Does that seem like an appropriate bail amount?
Well, it doesn't to me.
Wow. I mean, how is this legal? Before we get into this, I want to acknowledge our super chatters. Kung Fu CJ with the $10 super chat says, I just prepared taxes for a Maryland resident, and he paid more taxes to the state than the federal.
That's usual because you have your state taxes, your local taxes, your if you wish you would tax, if you wish you couldn't tax. If you rock
just in case you would,
right.
Wow.
If you know somebody who did tax, I mean, they have that's how we broke up the Martin O'Malley's reign of terror here. He wanted to tax the rain. You know, the wet.
Oh, they got it in this damn gonna bill.
Now they're taxing the clouds.
They want to tax the rain, so I sent them a nice letter.
If they could tax God, they would.
Yeah, they would. If they taxed us for each prayer, they would tax us. But that's how he was easily defeated by Larry Hogan, who was like a young upstart and that kind of thing. We had umbrellas that said "Don't tax the rain."
Yeah. Well, back to Massachusetts, folks. I mean, this is insane. And how is this legal? Are judges and prosecutors intentionally bypassing federal immigration enforcement, Shelley?
Yes, they are. Many of these judges, particularly at the federal levels, they are upholding or protecting these laws, these sanctuary cities, or whatever you want to call them. They are. And it's legal, KJ, to your point, the bail. Remember, you only have to pay about 10% of whatever the bail amount is. So $750 coming up is probably pretty easy. They all the family member puts down $10 or $20 and you got $750 for bail. But these judges, the attorneys, if you will, the legislatures in these states who are protecting these pedophiles, these criminals, these murderers, they have hell to pay on their hands. They should. I hope there is an oven waiting for them as well. These people are coming into our country illegally, aliens, and they are running and causing so much havoc and crime and heartache. We need to get them out. Thank God for Tom Homan.
Absolutely.
Thank God for Donald Trump in office and Kristi Noem and
Pam Bondi.
Yes, right. I thank God for them.
Cash.
Exactly. These people, yes, all of them. Yes.
Dan Bongino.
Absolutely. That's right. We got the whole administration. That's right.
I mean, those are our top cops.
Yes.
Yeah, those are our
yes.
top cops.
These people need to be rounded up. And I think not just deported, but they should be held for a long time for the crime that they committed first. And then I know we had to pay for them, but we got to give them 3 hots in the cot.
Well,
okay,
you can
fine.
send them right to El Salvador.
There you go. And I was about to say, let's not lock them up in our luxury prisons.
Oh, that's a good point.
Let's send them
That's
back
right.
to their
Or
nation.
Guantanamo Bay.
Did you see when those guys got off the airplane in El Salvador? That was first of all, I couldn't even tell you what they looked like because they were jamming their head.
Yeah, they had their head down. They looked like they were afraid. Yeah,
and then the one guy had a beard. They were like, "Oh no!" They shaved his beard, shaved his head, his mustache,
and then they didn't. And you didn't even see this, but they cut the camera. They took him in the back and shaved his balls in the back and behind.
Made them baby smooth for them dudes who's waiting. I'm gonna tell you, Bubba waiting on them.
Don Lemon might want to go there.
From the tutor to the shooter. Was it tutor to the
from the wait?
Don Lemon might
from the rooter to the tutor.
Rooter to the tutor. Thank you so much, Jay Hunter, for the $5 super chat. Says Black conservatives in Florida are running up the bag. We got room for more conservatives.
Okay.
Wow.
Jacksonville, Florida has the highest concentration of Black Republicans in the nation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know about Jacksonville. Give me Miami.
Well, speaking of Miami,
I'll go to St. Petersburg.
Listen.
Oh yeah, St. Petersburg. That's near. Is that near Orlando?
Clearwater
right?
Beach.
Oh yes. Oh, I love Clearwater. I would.
Speaking of vacation, because that's a nice segue, right?
Lord.
One, buy some pop merch so when you go on vacation, you'll look incredible.
Yeah, you can
I
give them a
strongly
message.
suggest the classic white tee, although Shelly has on the BBB. Strongly suggest the classic white tee goes with everything. You know, I like cruising. Cruising is a great vacation because you unpack once, you go to a lot of places, there's food and
It's
entertainment,
economical.
very economical. So I have proposed that we do a pop fans cruise.
Well, let us know what you think
Let
out
us know
there.
what you
Yeah, in
guys
the comments.
think.
Sound
Put
off
it in the
comments.
comments if you would join us, maybe for like a 5-day, 4 or 5 day, maybe even a 7-day. I don't know. Let's do something on a great ship. I just got off the Carnival celebration.
Okay.
The teppanyaki grill was off the charts. Yeah. Such a good time.
Well, anyway, everybody, you hear Nicole's idea, thought, let us know what you think.
Yeah, let us know what you think, guys. Very good. Yeah, but back to this. I want to know, is this a direct violation of public safety or just a natural consequence of sanctuary city policies?
There's really no such thing as a sanctuary city.
True.
What this is the way the Democrats are saying we're going to be lawless and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. But what's happening across the nation is the outcry for Trump to turn off all of their federal funding. If they don't want to participate like the rest of the states, he has the right to say, oh, no.
Exactly.
You don't get any of our collective money.
Right.
You want to be a rogue, be a rogue. Turn the money off. Other places are seeing people who've self-deported. One of my offices is in a heavily Hispanic area, and it's almost pleasant there now. I mean, there's nobody selling coconuts on the side of the road or any of that. All of that has been people who've moved on for whatever reason. Maybe they are moving to the sanctuary areas where it's a little bit safer for them.
What many Americans are ultimately saying is this. You elected officials, unelected bureaucrats, you do not have the authority nor the right, no moral right, no political right, no legal right to take the money that we pay in taxes and use it against us.
Right.
And put our people, our families and children's lives in danger. You don't have that right by zero authority. So we do not, we no longer will support it, and we will use legal means, if you will, through this Trump administration to take back the power that rightfully belongs to us anyway. This has to stop. These judges, and but speaking of these judges, like this judge that's Boasberg, I think his name is.
The activist judges. Yeah.
I think more judges. We need to have more transparency on judges. I really do. I'm not for overturning the Supreme Court as far as expanding it. That's not what I'm talking about. But even we didn't talk about this a little bit. Justice Roberts, Boasberg, all of these judges. I don't care who put them in office, but we need to have a little bit more transparency.
What transparency do you need?
Number one, who they are. Some of them are elected, some of them are appointed, things like that. But we need to have. I don't know to what degree or how it's going to play out, but the people, we have 3 co-equal branches of judgment, of government, 3 co-equal branches. One of them is not over top of the other. So when a judge gives or upholds, I'm going to use this word, illegal order, if you will, why are the other two branches bound to, honor that? No, they're co-equal. It's not father, mother, child, or whatever, or dependent. And, no, they're co-equal. So in those places, then the other branches, particularly Congress, need to stand up and say, nope, not going to happen. This is not a lawful order. We're going to play the checks and balances game. We need to have more of that.
I think we are. I don't agree with many of these activist judges. Number one. In order to fix that, I think, a lot of times, at least here in Maryland, when you vote for judges, you don't know anything about these people. So I would like some transparency there, where if they would provide, I don't know, some type of information about their past decisions and things like that. Now, as far as the 3 branches of government, I think it's working how it's supposed to work. Now, I remember when Biden was in office and he made the OSHA thing, or he was doing all these executive orders, and the judges came in and corrected it and said, hey, you've gone too far. There were judges that did this, and we agreed. So I think when it comes to these executive orders, it is the courts are interpreting it based off of the law, whether or not this is.
But you said the key. You said activist judges. Well, that's the activists. Many of these judges, again, in my never to be humble opinion, many of these judges are activists. They are not, at least, again, they're not going necessarily by the law. It's about, you don't know who you're going to get. It's like a hit, a bat and ball. So they're not necessarily going by the standard and the structure of the law. They're going by, I agree with this person's politics and I agree with this. So every year, every season, every session, you don't know what you're going to get. So our laws are like this and the judges are like this. So it's like watching a tennis match.
The truth of the matter is our law is our law.
Right.
It's black and white law. But what you often hear these judges say, well, the spirit of the law, the way I interpret the law, and I think that's the problem.
And most
politically
on the left.
Well, politically, and when Joe Biden's term was coming to a grateful end, thank you, Jesus, there were a lot of district judges and federal judges who needed to be, appointed. And they pushed them through with very little oversight. And I think that's the problem. When we talk about the 3 co-equal branches of government, one of these branches has let us down tremendously.
I think all of them.
Listen,
but Congress definitely.
Let me tell you, they're so busy TikToking and making, content. I need you all to come to work and be about your business.
Exactly.
Be about your, who's good at that? Josh Hawley.
I like Jim Jordan.
I like Jim Jordan.
Yeah,
like
Josh Hawley's my guy.
I like Kennedy.
Senator Kennedy will crack you up.
Yeah.
I love Ted Cruz. I love Mike Lee. These are fairly red-pilled people.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about either side, just being a good American, not a red-pilled person or a liberal person, just being a good American, we need Congress to step into that job.
That's what I say. Congress is the bulk of it.
Job. When people say presidents are writing too many executive orders, that's because Congress is not doing their job.
Exactly. Just like now, President Trump, yes, he's written a number of executive orders, but Congress should be working busy to make some of these executive orders into law.
This new big bill coming through. Looks like the Republicans are going to be able to pass President Trump's big bill.
Right.
This is supposed to be coming
but
through.
you heard what you said, President Trump's big bill, right? This
Congress should be doing. This is stuff they should be doing.
This is our bill. This is our bill. This is what we worked on. I love that President Trump is handing them their lunch so they can eat it. But at some point, they're going to have to stand up, put their big boy panties on, and handle their business.
Exactly.
That's what we've elected them for. Thank God it's only a 2-year term for the House. Thank God it's only a 2-year term.
Well, hopefully in 2028, we can still hold the House and have a bigger lead.
They better get
or they'll continue to do absolutely nothing.
Right.
And be, dancing down the hall.
All right, folks. Well, we have a couple of super chats here. We have Kung Fu CJ with the $5 super chat says the court must look at XOs in light of the Constitution. All right. Thank you so much, Kung Fu CJ. Jay Hunter says, actually, I'm 20 minutes from Clearwater Beach.
Thank you, Jay.
All right.
All right, Jay, you really want us to come down?
Listen here. What you doing this weekend, Jay?
All right. Well, thank you all so much. Again, if you guys, we got to stay on top of this. If you're tired of open border insanity and policies that protect criminals over kids, like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to this broadcast. Share it in a DM to your family, to your friends. Let's demand action before our lives are ruined.
Absolutely.
All right. So that takes us to the end of the night, folks. We thank you guys so much for watching with us tonight. We will be back. We'll be back on Friday. We'll be back Friday with another live show. But in the meantime, you can check out tomorrow night. We have Christian Conservative, at KJ Christian Conservative, right here on YouTube. So definitely check me out there on the YouTube channel. And then on Saturday, we have Just the Guys broadcast. So you have at Just the Guys podcast on Saturday. And then on Tuesdays, you have All American Talk. They have a new show on right now at All American Talk. Check it out. That came on yesterday. So certainly check out all of the shows on the Metro Conservative Media platform. All right. So that does it again for us tonight. Thank you so much. Until next time, count your blessings and live a life of purpose.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.